Ronnie Oneal III was raised in Florida and was active as a youth. He attended high school at East Bay High in Gibsonton and was involved in the local church choir. His biological father suffered from mental illness, having been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, but was not a part of Oneal's life. Oneal struggled academically in high school but was able to graduate. Faced with limited employment options, he took the U.S. Marine Corps entrance exam but was unable to pass. Oneal took on such jobs as casino worker and truck driver in order to earn a living. He eventually ran into trouble with the law, having been arrested on 3 separate occasions for nonviolent charges including theft, marijuana possession, and driving without a valid license. He was last arrested in 2009. Oneal entered into a relationship with Miss Kenyatta Barron, also known as Kiki, and they had 2 children together but never married. 9-year-old daughter Ranivia was nonverbal and was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and autism. 8-year-old Ronnie IV was healthy. Oneal and Barron eventually had a falling out, and in 2012 Oneal was petitioned in court in order to pay child support. He would eventually fall behind on his support obligation. Oneal moved on and had another child with a new girlfriend in 2016. He also developed an avid interest in Islam, even publicly identifying as a member of the Nation of Islam on Facebook. However, in November 2017, a then 29-year-old Oneal was wounded in Tampa during a drive-by shooting and was critically injured. His injuries were so significant that his heart stopped beating several times during surgery. Oneal was able to pull through, but found that neither his friends, family members, or present girlfriend were willing or able to take him into their homes. That's when the 33-year-old Miss Barron showed mercy to the father of her kids and decided to allow the supposedly reformed, devout Oneal to live with her until he recovered. Her decision to help Oneal was against her mother's advice, as she believed that her daughter Kiki was on a good path, having returned to college to increase her earning potential and provide better life opportunities for her children. It was the proverbial good deed that would not go unpunished. According to sworn testimony, while Miss Barron was on the line with 911, neighbor James Gray Jr. was in the house next door visiting his then-fiancée and current wife when he suddenly heard screaming and loud banging. Mr. Gray told his fiancée and her daughter to stay inside the home and call 911 while he opened the door to see what was going on. When he stepped outside, he could see his neighbor's front door was open, and there were 2 silhouettes in smoke at the end of a long foyer, along with blood spatter along the walls. He observed Miss Barron on the ground, lying face down and motionless. Oneal was standing over her and holding onto her left arm. Oneal had an object in his right arm, but Gray could not make it out. Oneal began shouting, "You don't understand!" Mr. Gray tried to get O'Neal to back away as O'Neal continued to yell, "Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!" and "You don't understand, she killed me." O'Neal then dropped Barron's arm and retreated into his residence as Gray remained outside with Barron's body. Just minutes later, a second 911 call was made from the Barron residence, signed by O'Neal, claiming to have been attacked by white demons and stating, quote, "I'd just been attacked. Kiki tried to kill me," end quote. He gave police dispatch their home address. According to the autopsy report from the medical examiner, Dr. Mary Mainland, Miss Barron suffered a gunshot wound to her right back shoulder as well as her right elbow. O'Neal then used the shotgun as an object to batter Miss Barron. She sustained over 15 lacerations to her head, 6 to 7 skull fractures, a fractured jaw, fractured facial bones, and several fractures at the base of her skull. Several teeth were missing. The official cause of death was brain hemorrhaging due to blunt force trauma. She had been beaten to death in the minutes it took from her 911 call to the time Mr. Gary intervened. O'Neal then butchered his special needs daughter, Ronnie, with an axe, mutilating her beyond recognition. He then repeatedly stabbed his 8-year-old son, little Ronnie, leaving him critically wounded. As if that weren't enough, O'Neal poured gasoline on little Ronnie and proceeded to set their house on fire. Deputies arrived at the Barron residence at 11:59 p.m. to find Miss Barron lying unconscious in the yard, covered by a sheet. She was partially clothed in a tank top, underwear, and socks. It was quickly determined that she was deceased. Initially, there were no lights coming from the residence. However, a short time later, a light was seen in the home. As the light grew brighter, it was determined to be caused by a fire within the residence, resulting in forced entry into the home by law enforcement. Once they gained access, they noticed the main living area was engulfed in flames. They yelled for anyone in the area to exit, and suddenly, a child appeared. According to Lieutenant Howard Wooden, little Ronnie was covered from head to toe in blood and was grasping his abdomen and holding his organs. Against all odds, little Ronnie managed to escape the home, and he uttered to the first detective he saw, "My father shot my mother." He was immediately transported to a hospital for emergency treatment. Mr. O'Neal exited the residence a short time later and immediately resisted arrest until he was disabled by use of a taser. While inside the squad car, he called his murdered victim, Miss Barron, the devil, and said, "The kids are the devil's kids." He was booked into Hillsborough County Jail the next day and charged with resisting arrest, arson, 2 counts of first-degree murder, and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. In the American criminal justice system, the accused, or defendant, has the right to legal representation once a criminal case against them has begun. It is a right embedded in the U.S. Constitution, specifically the 6th Amendment. Defendants also have the right to represent themselves in a criminal trial, although this is widely considered to be a terrible idea, as very few individuals have the education and experience necessary to successfully navigate a complex system of laws and procedures. Despite repeated warnings against it, O'Neal petitioned the court to represent himself anyway. A court is obligated to address such a petition and to determine whether the defendant fully understands the risks of waiving his right to counsel and is doing so of his own free will. After taking all matters into account, the court decided to allow O'Neal to act as his own attorney. As you will see, this made for some highly unusual moments.
State, you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just saw my dad holding a shotgun and my mom screaming at him.
And your father had a shotgun. What happened next? What did he do?
My mom ran in my sister's room. My mom ran in my sister's room into the closet. And then my dad said, "Come here and come kill the B-word."
Did you hear any shots from the shotgun before that?
Yes.
How many times?
1.
Was there a time when your mother was able to get out of the closet?
She was like stumbling outside, and then I just saw my dad chase her.
What do you remember happening next?
My dad told me to walk around and say, like, some words.
And do you remember what words your father told you to say?
Allah Akbar.
Allahu Akbar?
Yes.
Did he do something to your sister?
Yes, he hit her with an axe. And then he went in the garage, I followed him. He put me on the ground, and then he had his foot on top. I was laying on my stomach, he had his foot on top of me, and he was holding me down. And he was lighting a match.
Mr. Oneal, any questions?
How you doing, Ronnie?
Good.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Did you see me shoot your mom?
No.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
I did. And how did I hurt you?
You stabbed me.
Upon conclusion of the trial, Ronnie Oneal III was found guilty of the murder of his girlfriend and their disabled daughter, and the attempted murder of his son. After the guilty verdict, Oneal decided it would be wise to retain legal representation for the sentencing phase of trial. However, on June 25, 2021, Ronnie Oneal was sentenced to 3 life terms plus 60 years in prison to run consecutively. I'm happy to announce this episode ends on a high note. Ronnie Oneal IV, Little Ronnie, beaten, stabbed, burned and left for dead by his biological father, was adopted by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Detective Mike Blair, his wife Danielle, and their 5 children. Detective Blair was at the scene when it all happened. Afterwards, he and Danielle would visit Ronnie at the hospital on a regular basis and were always the last visitors to leave Ronnie's side. They kept in touch with Ronnie's court-appointed guardian, and 5 months later, the guardian called unexpectedly. She said Ronnie was in dire need of a foster home after 2 failed placements, and asked whether they knew anyone who could take him in. Detective Blair said he knew immediately what the right thing to do was. After a brief family meeting, they began the adoption process, and on November 25, 2019, Ronnie Blair was officially the newest member of the Blair family. In an interview with the Washington Post, Ronnie stated, "I am safe, I am loved, and I am part of this family."